all the provinces. The chapter basically and fundamentally examines the subnational finances and links the resources with the social sector expenditures. The fifth chapter is based on the findings of the survey undertaken by which is very interesting, because the chapter is about the citizens' perceptions on the urban public services. It is based on the findings of the survey undertaken of the people's perception on the urban public services, including water services, public services for garbage collection and waste disposal, public sewerage services, public hospitals, public transport, and law and order. The survey-based chapter looks into the priority of the perception of the public services of the people, their understanding as well as the perception of the role of the elected councillors. Very interestingly, you will see the finding of it. Water issues such as purchasing of water, households having access to the tap water, its quality, the water services, the complaints made regarding the cleanliness of the streets, disposal of the trash, public sewerage system, what is the user's behavior in case of the problems that have been encountered, whether the complaints were lodged or not, and the percentage of the households that did make the complaints, accessing the public hospitals, transport systems, law and order. So these are some of the parameters and the issues that have been looked into in this particular chapter. The chapter on the local government and the urban services focuses on the urban governments and the urban service, focuses on the local governments, and the urban service delivery, and highlights the need to ensure that public services in the urban areas are effectively delivered. It's somewhat also, not somewhat, but it discusses in detail the experiences of the previous local governments and also the local government after the 18th constitutional amendment. Yet another very interesting chapter is on the geographical unevenness in urban human development, and some very, very interesting findings in it. Very dara dene wali bhi. It draws the attention towards the geographical unevenness in urban human development, and for the first time, the sub-national human development indices have been constructed for urban Pakistan. The estimates of the per capita income presented have brought the differentials forward between the large and the small cities of the provinces, besides bringing forward the disparities in the level of the human development across cities of diverse sizes. The chapter has also helped in estimating the per capita income for urban areas and the inequality in the per capita income in urban Pakistan. The following chapter examines the poverty in the urban context and identifies issues such as employment and health as the main priority for the urban population and the specific interventions that are required for addressing the urban poverty. The chapter gives an estimate of the poverty incidence for 2011-12 as well as disaggregated incidence of the urban poverty, whereas the final chapter identifies the factors which determines the sustainability of the process of urban development. So these are the chapters, 9 chapters, I think very comprehensive, all aspects, most of them that have been looked into, some very interesting. They will be adding value to the existing knowledge which is there. And I hope that the analysis which are presented in the report will benefit the policy formulators, advocacy groups and the civil society, which happens to be our desire, but a culture which is increasingly eroding from our society, but nonetheless we can keep this desire to be there. Having given this backdrop of this whole the blocks that were identified, usually in our own language we call them to be the blocks, so that some sort of a rational linkages can be established and the parameters are identified for the research that is to be taken. I would take this opportunity a little bit to say a few words about my own organizations also. I hope I'm not exceeding the time that is allocated to me. If I do, Asif asked me to leave the podium. SPDC, for those who do not know about SPDC, established in 1995, is a research think tank, and Mr. Qureshi, who is the former Prime Minister, is the patron. Mr. Sartaj Aziz was the former chairman of the board. Currently, Mr. Saeed A Qureshi is the chairman of the board. We have a very distinguished panel of the board members who are sitting over here. And I can't see, Shana Saiba is just there, thank you for coming over. We have I've already mentioned the name of Mr. Saeed A Qureshi. Mr. Javed Jabbar is the vice chairman. Dr. Ishrat Hussain is also one of the board members. Mr. Saeed A Qureshi, who is Islamabad based, is also one of the board members. Shanaz Wazir Ali Saiba is sitting here, she's one of our board members. Mr. Ayyub Balot Saab is also, मेरी आंखें बहुत कमजोर हैं दूर की सर I can't see, मुझे माफ कर दीजिएगा, he's my board member, मेरी नौकरी चली जाएगी ना, but मेरी आंखें बहुत कमजोर हैं दूर की, so he is also one of my board members, and thank you sir for being with us. We work on the issues of public finance and macroeconomy. We do work on the issues of governance. We do work on the issues of gender. And poverty is something which we do continue to work on. We do look into the issues of climate change as cross-cutting. We also do offer services for the capacity development for the people, whether it's from civil society, from the government, or we are into advocacy also, but basically we are a research think tank. I think our flagship product is the annual review and a post-budget analysis, which we do immediately come up with once the budget is announced. But we do undertake a number of other researches also, and consultancies also are offered as and when required, or when we bid for various opportunities that come our way. I think at this particular point, let me also mention that recently we did lose one of our very important board members, and we must remember Mr. Rafiq Akhund at this particular point, because this is the first annual launch of our annual review after Mr. Rafiq Akhund, and I am missing him at this particular point. He invariably used to be there for the launches of our annual review. And some of our major things which would be coming in the coming years and months, and I must, because that is a tradition, that I must mention the theme which has been finalized, because the finalization only takes place once it is approved by the board members. The theme which is finalized for our next annual review is on the regional inequalities. And we do tend to look into the regional inequalities with the commitment to the SDGs of the government. Probably it's a right time to be looking into it. So we would also be in so many ways facilitating and helping and supporting the government to actually be moving forward as to how do they move forward on the SDGs. One another very major thing which is coming up, and I think I forgot to mention during the board meeting in the morning, sir, is that coming December we would be holding and convening a regional meeting of the South Asian think tanks in December in Islamabad. So that would be a great opportunity where we bring the research think tanks from within South Asian region together to actually be discussing on the role of the research think tanks in policy formulation and a host of other activities that are the contribution in this particular sector. Thank you so much, and I hope that all of you would be benefiting and finding this annual review very useful. I'm indeed very, very grateful to you for each one of you on a working day to take out some time to be with us. But I'm very sure about it, that the hard work which has been put in by my team members in bringing this annual review in front of you, you would, and of course, the support and the assurance and the input given by board members to ensure that the quality is not compromised, because their role is a very major role to make sure that the quality of the research is not compromised. So you will be benefiting from this report, and some very interesting findings are there. I hope that all of you would be going through it. But I also hope that our policy formulators, the parliamentarians, the media, and the discourse and the discussions which takes place on media also benefits from it. That is the main purpose of it, along with several other things. Thank you so much, Asif. Come and share the findings. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Khalida. It was a smart move to ask me to stop you from talking. I think I still want to work at SPDC. Can I have this here? Or particularly, I mean, Mr. Javed Jabbar, who should have been. Yeah, okay, technology doesn't suit me. Okay, I'll try. So, ideally, I think Javed Jabbar Sahab should have been here, but since he has been so humble, so I'll be making this presentation. So, I'm not going to go through all the chapters due to time constraint. So, just here, I'd like to share some major findings, 4 to 5 areas of the report. One is estimating the urban economy. The other one is the labor force and employment. The third one is the citizen perception about urban service delivery. That is the major kind of primary survey that we conducted for this report. And the next one is counting the poor, like estimating the incidence of poverty in urban areas of Pakistan. And lastly, spatial unevenness in human development. So, starting from estimating urban economy, so basically it's the decomposition of the GDP into urban and rural that was done. So, urban economy accounts for almost half of the GDP in Pakistan, 49%, while the population share of urban areas is 39%. So, we have taken the official estimates of urban population, which is 38 to 39%, although it has been argued that the official definition measures the attributes of administrative areas and it does not adequately reflect the process of urbanization and agglomerations. And the alternative projections that we find in literature, which are density-based definition they use, and they also take care of the peri-urban areas. So they suggest that the actual urban population is significantly higher than the official estimates. But since we don't have any, so far we don't have, after the 1998, we don't have any census, so we are stuck with the official definition here. Okay. Growth of urban economy from 2002 to 2008, it has been recorded 6.5% annual cumulative growth average, while after 2008, it declined to 3.9%. And the trend in urban economy, of course, it follows the national trend as well. But as compared to rural economy, the urban economy has grown well. But over the last few years, there has been a slump in slackness in the growth, and which can also be related to the rural-urban migration that has declined during this period. In 2002, 21% of the urban population was consisted of migrants, but now it has declined to 17%. The next is labor force and employment, just a glimpse of that as well. The urban labor force participation rate almost they have remained stagnant during 2002-2004, and these estimates are based on the Pakistan Labour Force Survey. So, as you can see, it has slightly improved, increased from 46% to 47%, so we can say that there has been stagnation. However, the unemployment rates have declined, particularly in the case of females. Like in the case of male, can you see something? Okay. In the case of male, it has declined from 7.8% to 6%, but in the case of female, I mean, the decline has been significant. So it seems like there have been more opportunities, employment opportunities have been created for females during this period. Yeah. I told you, technology doesn't suit me. Okay. Yasir, can you help? Oh, it takes time. Please wait while ABG applies your security settings. Oh, it is recommended not to open any process unless the process is complete. Okay, but another important finding related to labor force and employment is the unemployment rates according to the educational status of the labor force. In 2007-8, we found that there has been a declining trend as you go from Acha, oh, he is sitting. Okay. ठीक है? Okay. So it seems like the unemployment rate for educated persons has become more higher. I mean, if you see the trend, which is the dotted line, it is 2007-8. So we see that as when you move from intermediate to degree level, so unemployment rate declines substantially. But in the survey of 2014-15, there is a typo here. In 2014-15, as you see that there is a divergence and there is a kind of a reversal in this trend. Now I'll come to the citizen perception survey that SPDC conducted. Sorry, another important, very important issue that has emerged, it is of idle male youth in urban areas. I mean, this is a youth which is not in labor force, and they are neither in labor force nor in educational institutions. So this is what we call idle male youth, and it has been estimated that we have 1.7 million people, young people in urban areas that are idle, and which constitute 54% of the youth which is not in the labor force. So that's a very alarming situation. And of course, I mean, the speakers that distinguished speakers that we have, Dr. Ishrat Sahab and Dr. Javed Jabbar Sahab and others, I mean, I think they would like to comment on that what kind of implication it might have for our society that we have such a high percentage of idle youth. And we do have provincial variation, as you can see. In Punjab it's 51%, in Sindh it's 64%, and in Balochistan it's 75%. So that's very kind of alarming situation that we are facing here. Now again coming to the citizen perception survey. It was a household survey. We conducted in 21 districts of Pakistan. Sample household survey. Total sample size was 4,282, and it included 3 different tiers of the administrative areas. One was metropolitan and municipal corporations, like 2,482. Then we have municipal committees, and then we have town committees, which are small towns and cities. Okay, the citizen respondents were asked a question that what is the most serious problem to Pakistan's development? 31% said it's corruption and bad governance. The next is law and order, and the third one is poverty. So it kind of reflects the perception of people that they think that governance is the major issue. It's not finances, it's not some other thing, it's not economy, it's the governance, it's the corruption that is, I mean, it's according to our expectation, but still, I mean, the number is quite high. Let's say that almost 1/3 of the population thinks that corruption is the major problem. And then again, a question was asked that, has there been any improvement in the development of your locality during the last 5 years? It was kind of related to the process, I mean the election process, 2008 and then after that. So during the last 5 years, in Punjab and Pakhtunkhwa, almost more than half of the people, and in Balochistan, almost half of the people think that the situation of development process has slightly improved, but the other would say that it has declined and no change. But Sindh stands out, like 38, almost 70% of the people from Sindh survey sample, they said that either it has declined or there has been no change. So this provincial variation is again very alarming in the case of Sindh. Then the question was asked, what is your top priority? What are the 3, 4, 5 top priorities for improvement in public services in your areas? And what we see here, 3 major issues that people identified: garbage collection, drinking water, sewerage lines. But there is a very interesting provincial differential here. In the case of Balochistan, the top priority, 2 top priorities were law and order and education, which was not on the top in other provinces. And also the health in Balochistan, 10% said the health. But one interpretation of people not talking about health services is that they might have, I mean, given up that we know that in urban areas, government is not going to provide the service. So that could be one explanation, that the people, when we talk about urban services, they don't even think about health services. It was just 2, 3, 4% in Punjab, Sindh and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Not more than 6% they said that, okay, health is our priority. So the priority is garbage collection, drinking water